Look like, man, yo, this one is overdue, man, but we had to get it in there. The Tyson Fury and USYK fight, second round, man, second matchup. I was reserving my comment on this one, man, to really take my time and go back and watch the fight, because in the moment of the actual fight while it was going on, man, I really had a sort of like a little bit of a seesaw type of feeling about the way the fight was going, the way it ultimately turned out. I really could not pinpoint exactly who I wanted to credit with actually winning that fight, man. The reason being, I thought that USYK, he was very much like his normal self, in the sense that he was very consistent, he was deliberate, he never took a round off. But there were so many occasions where I thought that the best quality punches were being delivered by Fury at a certain time. The best quality ones, I mean, on a more consistent basis. Now, the bigger, more like crowd-moving shots were actually being delivered, I think, by USYK, mainly because when he was catching Fury, he was catching him with his hands down a lot. So the shots were so much cleaner, and they seemed so much more, not necessarily so much more forceful, but definitely more impactful, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like, he was catching him so clean where Fury wasn't really even defending himself, because his hands would drop half the time when USYK was hitting him with those good shots, you know. But I think in the end, you know, like watching the fight over and over and just really trying to get down to the core of, like, you know, how I would call this fight if I was one of the judges at ringside. You know, as much as I was in Fury's corner, man, I gotta say, I think he simply got outworked by USYK. It was a matter of just being outworked. I don't think USYK necessarily hurt him too much. I just think, like, the bigger shots were landed by USYK because of the cleanliness of those shots and the lack of defense that was proposed by Fury in the instances where he was getting hit, you know. A lot of times with the hands down, man, just not blocking, just not really protecting, not really defending it, you know what I mean? Not making Fury work, but not making USYK work as hard to get in there, you know what I mean? I think a lot of times Fury was just he was admiring his work a lot. He would hit USYK pretty nice and clean, but then he would step back to kind of, you know, like kind of reflect on how good of a shot he just did. Meanwhile, USYK is coming back with, like, combinations. You know, he wasn't always just throwing single shots. He was in fact, he was usually throwing combinations, and I really think that attributed to his you know, the outcome of him actually outworking Fury, because he just had more volume in there, you know what I mean? And it wasn't like he was doing, like, he was punching any harder. I think a lot of Fury's counter punches, especially some of these, like, these uppercuts that he was throwing from the hip, you know what I mean? Those were pretty beautiful, man. I think he was pretty successful when he was delivering those shots. I don't know why he abandoned them at so many stages in the fight. You know, he would find success and then he would just, like, abandon it. It was like kind of reminded me a little bit of the De La Hoya versus Mayweather. How De La Hoya was having a hell of a job done when he was using that jab, and Mayweather Sr., who was in his corner that night, was telling him, man, you got to keep using the jab, keep using the jab. And for some reason, De La Hoya just abandoned that shit, man, and thereby gave up the fight or any opportunity he would have had of being more competitive against Floyd that night, you know, because a lot of people wanted De La Hoya to succeed in that fight, and so he had a pretty strong fan base, and I'm pretty sure, like, you know, some of the judges might have, you know, had a little space in their heart for him, you know what I mean? And all he had to do is keep that jab going to make it a little bit more competitive and a little bit more realistically favorable for him. Because at the end of the fight, when you know, go back to what Floyd Sr. said. Sr. said, you know, it all comes down to how you score the fight. If you're looking for a guy who's gonna throw the cleaner punches, yeah, you got to give it to my son. You got to give it to Mayweather. But if you're looking for somebody that's actually racking up more points in terms of volume, you know, then you might lean in the direction of De La Hoya. So it was kind of like that with Fury and Usyk. I think that Usyk definitely outworked him. I don't think he threw the most damaging shots on a consistent basis. I think he did it in the more significant ways where they did land so cleanly that they moved the crowd a bit and they got everybody riled up. But I think Fury, especially earlier on in the fight, man, in the beginning stages, like the first 5-6 rounds, he was doing a hell of a job in terms of countering, keeping the competitiveness going. He was pressuring Usyk. He had Usyk backing up against the ropes a lot, and he was really showing a lot of ring generalship, but he never got to the point where he turned the tide and he took full control of Usyk, because Usyk would not allow it. Every time Usyk was subjected to a punishing blow, he delivered at least 2 or 3 more shots, even if they were not as significant as the one he just finished suffering, you know. So Usyk was very diligent about putting in a higher work rate than Fury, and I think because Usyk also maintained his level of activity, as well as he showed his durability. He maintained all his mental and physical faculties throughout the course of the fight. He never really looked weak. He never looked beaten. He never looked compromised. And I think a lot of that played into the judges. But where the judges did get it wrong, man, is where they fucking had Fury losing like the last 7 or 8 rounds, man. And Fury's team, they had a fucking heart attack over that shit. And I really, you know, side with them in terms of that. You know, the perspective that the judges lent to the view of that fight from the midsection all the way to the end, man. There's no way Fury lost all of those fucking rounds. You know what I mean? I think the fight was a lot closer. Because it was it was a come and go kind of situation. It wasn't like Usyk was dominating this fight. I think Usyk was so consistent, and then he being the champion, it behooved Fury to have to do more. You know what I mean? I think the champion should always get, like, you know, the benefit of having to be destroyed in order to lose his title. You know what I mean? He has to be outclassed. And Fury at no point actually outclassed Usyk. So, but I think Usyk won this one by a margin. You know, a lot closer than what the judges basically portrayed in their scoring. You know, now on the backside of all this shit, you know, I did a video leading up to it. I said, you know, Fury got his ass whooped the first time, and he was acting like he didn't get his ass whooped. I think he got his ass beat in the first fight. And again, not in a disrespectful way, you know what I mean? But this time he claims he didn't lose this fight either. And, you know, I could see him feeling that way this time. You know what I mean? I actually find there's a little more legitimacy in him having that sentiment this time around, because the judges clearly got it wrong with the fucking landslide idea that he didn't win any of those last 5 or 6 rounds, you know what I mean? I think they probably even had it up to 7. Anyway, his team was like really fucking pissed about it, and I thought it was kind of ridiculous too. But you know, I watched the fight over and over, man, just to try to make some sense of my assessment of it, you know, once I made this video. But I gotta go with 2 things. One, I'm still a Fury fan, so the motherfucker, I don't know if anybody peeled off from the Fury section, but I'm not one of them. You know, I'm still down with him, and I'm not a Usyk hater. I like me some fucking some Usyk also. You know, that boy can box, and he's a champ for a reason. You know what I mean? But definitely not abandoning Fury. But I think all said and done, man, I think Usyk took this one fair and square. Although the judges got it, they gave him too much credit. That's all it is. He should have gotten credit for the victory, just not that much fucking credit. So it is what it is, man. Catch y'all next time. Peace.